So, tattoos and spiritually connected tattoos, my dedication tattoo. I'm sipping on lovely ginger beer. As we talk about this lovely one, I don't know if this video will be long. You might need a beverage, it might not, I don't know. But tattoos for a long time for me have always been kind of this, I don't know, they've always been kind of a weird sacred bookmarking of my life connection thing. After committing myself to witchcraft and paganism, I kind of like looked back on all my tattoos and realized that most of them had some sort of deep life spiritual meaning, and the one that didn't hold that for me anymore, I actually eventually got covered up with something else that kind of does too. And I think that's what's interesting, because all my tattoos at first I thought were more for just vanity, you know, one had really deep meaning and then the rest were kind of just like, oh, I just kind of like that thing and we'll go from there. But then as I go through them all, it's really funny how all of them have very deep spiritual meaning and somehow connect to paganism or witchcraft in some way, shape, or form. So eventually it came around not too long into my idea of witchcraft and journeying into the pagan path and all that stuff, that I would maybe get a tattoo in dedication to one of my deities, or my deity at the time. If you're one of the people who loves to just haphazardly get tattoos, like you're just like, yeah, whatever, I don't really cool, do you, boo-boo. But I really like to think them out, make sure that I'm not going to regret the design or the placement on my body. And for me that can take a little bit of time, because I do tend to change my mind quite frequently on maybe an interpretation of the design or whatever else. So I thought about it for a while. At first I was going to get a whole sleeve of dedication to one of my deities, and it kind of became all my deities, and it got more and more complicated, and the tattoo artist I really wanted is like really expensive and always booked, and there's a lot of walls kept coming up about it. Not too long ago, about 6-7 months, I had the idea that, well, maybe I don't need to get a tattoo that goes to all 3 of the deities that I work with on a regular. Maybe I really just want to get a tattoo to one, at least for now. And for me, the one that screamed out the most to me was Persephone. Now, I've been exploring witchcraft and paganism for quite a while, but I have been fully what I could call dedicated to witchcraft, paganism, all that for about rounding onto my 3rd year now. The day I mark it is my dedication ceremony to Persephone. That is what I call as my witchiversary, I guess you could say. It was my self-dedication. So it made sense to do a whole kind of, I don't know, reaffirming of that with a tattoo, right? So I kind of came up with this idea and this design surrounding Persephone and some of the contradictions that she holds and a lot of her meaning, and how well that really works for me. And so I pitched it to a tattoo artist, and at first I didn't know if I was even going to get in with their appointment book or what was going on. And eventually I realized, oh, they are open. And right around the same time I'd be getting tattoos, around the same time that I was first exploring Persephone as a possible deity to work with, and kind of acknowledging that maybe personified deity was a thing that would work well for me in my own spiritual path. I guess we will cut at these points to me kind of planning my thought process, getting ready to go and all of that, because there was a bit of a process with that. So I am so I'm about to head out. I just had a lovely shower to cleanse myself, and now I feel like all sorts of like perfectly clean, because one, just that's nice of the tattoo artist, and 2, I did a lot of like I did like a ritual body script thing, lots of like flower based shampoos and conditioners, hair treatments, stuff on the skin, all that stuff, so that my body feels kind of like cleansed and prepared. It's very weird. This will be my first tattoo that I'm using as a dedication for, and specifically for my matron, so this is pretty exciting for me. So I will catch you guys up later. It is now 3 days later since the tattoo, so it has been locked away underneath my robe here. It has had this lovely protective thing over it so it wouldn't get ruined. Last night I did a lovely ritual for Persephone. It was a lot of just being involved with the new moon, and I kind of like presented the tattoo to her the entire moment
going into the tattoo. It was nice because I got to talk to the tattoo artist, and then also it felt very meditative at certain points. It didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. Some people say the interior of your arm is very sensitive, but I don't know, this felt very like, of all the things, just it needed to be done for Persephone to have like a dedicated tattoo, and I'm dedicating now the entire month to her of June as well. I don't know, there was something just about the fact that she was the first deity to ever really come to me and get in contact with me when I first discovered magic. I mean, technically the first deity to get in contact with me would probably be Sobek, like way back when I was like a kid. But I don't know, Persephone always has felt like the one who has opened the gate. Like, she's the one who pulled me through into the idea of witchcraft and magic and pursuing this shit with like reckless abandon and seeing if it worked well with my life, and my life turned so much better. So to have my first kind of dedication tattoo be to her really mattered. So I am now going to shower, and they say to take off the protective thing in the shower because it just helps, so I will do that. And then it kind of feels too like a little bit of like, oh, okay, I did this amazing ritual, I have dedicated this tattoo to her, there's this really great meditation and stuff that just I don't know, it really felt like giving so much thanks and gratitude to her. So I am going to get this lovely protective thing off, cleanse the tattoo, check it out. Hopefully it is not too much of an open wound anymore and is healed up pretty damn well. And then, yeah, I'll give you guys a little look at it.
I don't know, for me, the concept of like a tattoo and ink and blood all mixed in with kind of like a really sacred thing was something that was, I don't know, really cementing for me. Blood in use of any spell really feels very, like it's got some grip, some oomph put into it. I've used blood magic here or there before, and so tattoo, there's blood, you can put ink into your skin. So for me, it was very, supposed to be very palpable, very like, no, I am bonding myself in a reaffirmation to this connection that I have with my matron. And the reason I chose Persephone was, one, because she is the first deity that kind of really led me into this, but also the amount of just, I don't know, extra care I feel I have from her when I do my meditations, interactions, and the amount of epiphanies, I guess you could say, that I've had within those as well have been probably the most like holy fuck, but in a way that's like not as like, I don't know, but with Sobek and Loki, I feel very much like so many times the ground itself from underneath me is just being, we don't give a shit. I will shove you into pools of dangerous crocodiles. I will eat you alive. I will, like, they'll tear me apart in all the different ways. But the personal choice and freedom of choice and all that really matters to me. It's one of my really big grounding points for me morally, is when you are taking away someone's choice, free will, etc. and so forth, and trying to make decisions for them, not allowing them to speak their voice clearly. It really gets on me. Like, it's like one of my things. And so the fact that Persephone always seemed to approach our relationship in a very like, when I'm ready, she will make things known. When I am up to taking her hand, to seeing what's out there, the journey, to taking on the energy, whatever, what have you, she's always been there. And so that is very interesting to me. That pull, especially because that made me seem slightly contradictory, I guess, if you are really into her mythos and the idea that she was captured. I personally feel there's a lot of holes in that stories of her being captured by Hades. I think that there is a lot more going on in that tale, and cultural upheaval and mixing and retranslating that probably happened with a lot of the Greek mythos back in the day, just to make the masses a little more, I don't know, appealed to a certain set of like morals or stories or rules that some rulers might have wanted with them. Because I think like it doesn't feel entirely like, of course she went with Hades of her free will, but it definitely feels a little something French. So yeah, the actual getting the tattoo was very interesting because I was having a conversation with my artist. It's also the first time I've ever been tattooed by a woman, which is interesting. I've always had male tattoo artists just because that's the art that I've liked. Like, it's been really a conscious effort, but this tattoo artist, I really loved her art. I love the design, and I've been following her art outside of tattooing for a while, and so having a female artist was really important to me for this connection with Persephone. I don't know, it just was a thing. And so it was, we were having like good discussions and stuff, but also like just I was going very into a meditative state whenever I could, you know, just kind of like falling in and seeing whatever images came up, specifically as I kind of like had the image of what the tattoo was looking like in my head, as like, okay, what does this specifically bring up for me? And it was a very interesting journey and a very weird place that came up as I was getting the tattoo. It basically all came down to like this kind of like a very sacred astral altar in the middle of these really deep woods that were like dark, with like light floating through the trees, like barely lit, just all sorts of beauty and grace mixed in with this enclosed but very freeing space. Like, it felt very portally, you know what I mean? And that's kind of just where, like, as I was like lying, I felt like I was lying in like in the middle of this, like, this wooded and almost caved area at the same time, while I was on the tattoo table. And it was interesting because like normally I'm very like, I don't know, I get a little like anxious-y when I'm getting tattoos. Like I'm the horrible client, whereas like who's always like twitching, and like they're like, ma'am, you need to sit still, and I'm like, no, I know I need to, but it's like I can't sit here for this long. But apparently I was extremely stoic, and she was like, yeah, you're just kind of like, don't seem to be affected by this at all. And I was like, really? Awesome. Yay, meditative state. Maybe that's the thing I need to do now every time I get a tattoo, because it did not hurt nearly as bad, except for certain points. And yeah, no, it felt very like revealy, and I've also decided this tattoo made me realize I wanted to kind of dedicate all my meditations to connecting with Persephone. I try as much as possible, at least for like 10 seconds to 5 seconds to a full like 30-minute deep meditation, putting me back in that space that I had seen when I was getting the tattoo of the wooded area with this kind of like altar thing that was made up for Persephone. And I go back to that place and always feel like I'm giving my energy as much as I can, and just expressing myself, and I don't know, just like giving thanks and gratitude to her for like kind of getting me through a lot of shit and getting me here to Portland, and like, I don't know, moving here and experiencing spring here and seeing all the amazing things that are happening and having life kind of like settle in. It does feel very like, oh, I've kind of like come into my own. And I think that if I had not found witchcraft and I had not found Persephone, then a lot of those things wouldn't have all accumulated. So anyway, the reason you are actually freaking here is to see my new tattoo. So it is right here on my inner arm. I don't know if you can see it all that well upside down, right? Which is why the cutaways earlier. But the reason I kind of picked some of this imagery is one, it's an original design by the artist with my suggestions of what I want it to look like. And for me, it was very important to have this idea of like this air, you know, the concept of almost like nothing, of just like pure energy being poured into death, and out of that comes life, creation, that cycle, that out of seemingly nothing comes something. And I think that's a lot of what Persephone embodies to me, is this change and cycle and this ability to adapt and evolve and to always subvert expectation, and that magic is kind of hidden right beyond what you think you can see, and that there's hope even when it's literally death is staring you in the face, which is why I kind of really wanted to focus on the skull, I guess, and the representation of death and Persephone, because they do these like wildflowers coming out of the eyes of the skull when smoke is kind of like coming all around its mouth is very like, in comes the energy, and out of this thing of death comes life and creation. So yeah, this is my new tattoo and perfect dedication to Persephone. I am wrapping up June here with all of my meditations. It has been a lot of very interesting deep dives and revelations and connections to Persephone. I don't know, maybe I'll do another coffee and cauldrons on it later if I feel up to it or not. I'm also dedicating the next 2 following months to my other 2 deities, so July will be all about Loki, and August will all be about Sobek. I don't know if they'll be getting tattoos in those months. I don't know if my pocketbook can handle that, but we'll see. I'm kind of considering it. Comment down below some other videos you'd like to see from me, and I will see you guys later this week. Bye-bye.